Thank you, Mr. Chair. So far, I've gone by 3 schools. Great welcome back breakfast at Buchholz yesterday. And today I visited Bishop, got to talk to administrators and faculty, and Rawlings, where I did the same. And it's sort of cool that both at Bishop and Rawlings, I have former students that are on the faculty. I have one of my students from 30-something years ago at PK Young is on the faculty at Bishop, and I have a student from Duval Elementary not quite that long ago who is now on the faculty at Rawlings. So it was fun, and look forward to 1 or 2 more schools tomorrow.
All right. I was at Buchholz too yesterday. So I always like to go back to Buchholz, and I inform people I started there when that building opened. I started there in 1970, but the building opened in January of '71, so it's pretty old. But got to talk to the faculty. I enjoyed that. Some people in the faculty were right, students and people, other people I worked with. So that was fun. Then after I left there, went to Gainesville High School, or was the other place I taught in the district, and got to talk to their faculty in the faculty meetings. So that was great. This morning I went out to Newbury. I just went to Newbury High School, and they're high tech when they have their pre-planning. Something I didn't put that up on the board and everything. It was great, and got to see the new water fountains we put in. You got to see those. There's something else. They're nice, Kevin. And your successors did a great job in the meeting, which you knew he would. Yeah. And the school is as like always, is immaculate. You can eat off the floor. Really nice. So you should be proud of that school. I know they are too. I'm proud of some of our schools. So anyway, another thing is today, I'd like to, we have something that I wish we didn't have to say, but we do. We are saddened to announce the passing of Patsy Tyner, a former longtime employee at the district office. Patsy worked as a program services specialist for the Title I office until her retirement in 2012. Patsy was a friend of all. A life celebration will be announced at a later date. Please keep the Tyner family in your thoughts during this difficult time. Do you want to say anything, Ms. Superintendent? Okay, that's that. Citizens input. Citizens input, we have the first one, a total of 15 minutes. You get to speak for 3 minutes. Please stay within the 3-minute time limit. Please follow the thing in the back. Civility clause. We don't want to talk about name people or even intimate somebody's name. And we want to just keep it relevant to school board activities, not something else that's totally irrelevant to our school district. Please follow this, and I would appreciate it. So the first one would be Dr. Ann Katurba.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, school board members. My name is Ann Katurba. Tonight, I'm not going to run over. Tonight I would like to talk about the superintendent's annual evaluation, which was discussed at the last board meeting, which I attended. And I have 2 questions, one of which I'm going to ask now, and the next one I'll ask at the end. As you all know, the superintendent's evaluation was composed of 3 goals. The first one concerned student performance, the second minority hiring, and the third facilities management. My first question concerns minority hiring. The goal was to increase minority hiring by 10%, and that goal was apparently met and actually exceeded. I was reviewing the agenda for this evening and looked at the equity report, and also had one from last year as well. So the equity report on your consent agenda tonight showed a net increase of 6 black teachers from 198 to 204, or from 10.4% to 11% of all teachers. And that was in 2017 versus 2016, so a net of increase of 6 black teachers. With black student enrollment currently at 35% or so. With Hispanic teachers, there was a net increase of 5, from 114 to 119, or from 6 to 7% of the total teachers, but with Hispanic student enrollment at 10% now, which is the fastest growing group in the district, actually. I'm curious my question is, how the percent increase in minority hiring was calculated for the superintendent evaluation, but I'm particularly interested in the actual number of black teachers that were hired this year, as well as how many black teachers you lost this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nobody? All right, let's go. Consent agenda. Superintendent?
Thank you, Dr. Pawson. I recommend that the school board approve the consent agenda as described in items 1 through 10.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hyatt, second by Ms. Griffin. Any questions or any discussion? None? All right, everybody in favor of the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, passed 4-0. Action items. Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The superintendent recommends that the school board approve change order number 1 in the amount of $36,932.51 as presented.
All right,
So moved.
motion by Mr. Hyatt,
Second.
second by Mrs. Roy. Any discussion? All right,
We're splitting the overage with the high school.
right. And the high school's paying back the money for the addition to it. That's part of their contract with us.
Yes.
Superintendent. All right, anybody else? All right, everybody in favor of the action item as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. Moore. New instructional job description for social work, first reading.
Thank you, Dr. Paulson. This is the creation of a position, the official school social worker. It's an actual certified position, not a general social worker. The job description sets forth the minimum qualifications, knowledge, skills, and abilities, job goal, performance responsibilities, and physical requirements for the position. Superintendent recommends that the school board approve the allocation of funds and the proposed new instructional job descriptions for school social worker as presented for advertising.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Griffin, second by Ms. Roy. Anybody, do we have any discussion?
I had one
Ms.
question.
Griffin?
I just, we have social workers currently contracted. Did they not have a job description before?
There's a variety of positions that kind of fit in the social work field, from Head Start home liaisons are doing a type of social work, but we don't have a specific certified teacher, school social worker, where they're actually an instructional position. And then with the 7026, the mental health money and some of the grants that Everett has gotten, we really kind of felt like we needed a certified school social worker and have that description, as opposed to putting a teacher that does qualify in as something else doing a best fit. So this is a real certified position, and we need it in the bargaining unit.
Mrs. Roy.
Thank you. I was just going to wonder the same thing, but wondered if this indicated that we were on the verge of hiring social workers. I mean, I know that the possibility exists when the money comes in.
One of my favorite ways to answer a question is to look at somebody else and say their name. Everett?
Oh, I didn't see.
As you know, we have a couple of grants right now that we've got some social workers working as teachers on special assignments. And as Attorney Moore said, really this is a very generalized description, and because this is a more specific role, we felt like it was important that we had a specific job description for them. We have, as a result of some recent legislative action, and as you know, last board meeting you all approved a mental health plan, and in that plan we are slated to hire some additional social workers. In addition, we had an expansion of one of our title programs this year, and we plan to add some additional social workers to that. So we kind of felt like it was really appropriate that we had a job description that fits what these folks are doing, and that we're not just trying to fit somebody into a teacher on special assignment type position. It's a very general, generic description, and we felt it would be better to have a more specific set of job responsibilities, as well as the credentials that are required for this particular position.
Anybody else? Nobody? Aye. We had a motion, right?
Yes.
Okay. Aye. Everybody in favor of the action item 1, action item 2, excuse me, new instructional job description for social worker, school social worker? In favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, like sign? Nobody? So passes 4-0. All right, we're back to citizens input again. And let me see. Ms. Dr. Paterno.
Happily this evening. Hi, my name is Ann Katurba. My second comment is about Goal 1, and forgive me for reading, I just want to get through it. Goal 1 on the superintendent evaluation was raise achievement for all students with an emphasis on closing the achievement gap. And under that overall goal were 9 performance objectives that were very specific and data-driven. My understanding is that the superintendent set these goals for herself last year and the board approved them. There is also a clear grading rubric that guides how to evaluate how well this goal was met. Highly effective, evidenced by achievement of all or nearly all the objectives. Effective, evidenced by achievement of most of the objectives. Developing, evidenced by achievement of some. Needs improvement, evidenced by achievement of few. Unsatisfactory of none or almost none. A note was also included. Board members may choose to rely on implementation of strategies for meeting the performance objectives due to the unavailability of the data. After reading all of your evaluations, that's actually what you all did. Several of you mentioned the unavailability of the data. So your evaluations for Goal 1 instead were based on Mrs. Clark's plan for addressing the achievement gap, which I admit is very extensive. And Mrs. Clark received 2 highly effectives and 3 effectives for that unproven plan. The problem I see was that the data were available for the majority of the performance objectives. I know that because I was able to easily compile the information on 5 of the 9 of the objectives well before your evaluations were due right off the Florida DOE website. And you do have a wonderful research office that compiles this information and provides it to you as well. The data showed that the achievement gap did not improve. In fact, it widened in 2 subjects. And for the 5 objectives from the Florida DOE site, 4 were not met, nor was the 10% suspension reduction objective as was discussed at a candidate forum. So the majority of the objectives were not met, and according to the rubric, that doesn't translate into either highly effective or effective. But that's really not my point. I am not absolutely here to criticize anything about the superintendent's performance in her first year. It's a tough road. And her performance objectives were very, very aggressive. But I am here to say that the approach that you all used as a board disturbs me a bit, because to me, that isn't really very accountable and transparent to the public. I wonder how many other employees would receive an evaluation based on performance, not on performance, but on a plan. Thank you.
Anybody else? That's it? All right. Let's go to board member superintendent requests. Mrs. Roy?
No, sorry.
Mrs. Griffin?
Yesterday, some of our schools had teachers that had to be moved because of their band scores. And I went by Terwilliger today just to give my support. It's not a decision that this board or this district in any way made. It's legislated. And it's not just the decision to move the teachers on a score that is very objective and not based really on the outcome of their students for the whole year. but it's also the timing. And we have, this board has been, up to Tallahassee, has written letters, has called, has emailed, to try to make a change. And not only that, but in other things that have affected our district and our teachers. And I just want to say that the teachers in this district, especially the ones that are working at our most disadvantaged schools, work very, very hard. They are under a lot of more pressure now, and with this, it's even incentivizing people not to want to work in the hardest classes with the schools that need them the most. And our board has been committed to working towards having the most experienced teachers at the schools that need the help the most. And this is counterproductive. It's not anything that this board or the districts and I'm the principals and everybody would ever think is the right thing to do. So I just wanted to let the teachers know that your board supports you, and we're going to still continue to march forward and speak on your behalf. But we need the parents and we need the students, especially the students that are affected by this all across the district, all across the state. It's not just our school district. And that we need to let our voices heard. And I just encourage you, if you have time, that you can email our legislative delegation. They're on summer break. They're all campaigning right now. But they listen to the constituents when they're not in Tallahassee and make our voices heard that we need a change. And it's not right. It's not right. It's not what's best for the students or the teachers. And I just felt like I needed to share that. And I really hope that this week continues to go smoothly for everyone. And Meet the Teacher Thursday and Friday is one of the most happy days for our students. They get to see their schools and their teachers, and we want what's best for the kids in our district. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hyde.
I'm going to piggyback on Ms. Griffin's comments. I'll try not to repeat too much of it, but let me start with the VAM score. The VAM was created by an agricultural professor at the University of Tennessee to measure livestock. And according to the professor, it was never intended for any sort of human performance, and whoever thought of that probably it could be close to one of the worst ideas in Florida history. So let me start with that. Secondly, if you're going to have these type of pernicious, destructive laws, then the least you could do is have a deadline for yourself. These scores were sent to the district Friday afternoon. The district was still on summer hours, and so they weren't working. That was the last Friday off. Most of you know that the district works extra hours Monday through Thursday, and they're off Friday during summer. And so, boom, Monday morning, all of this hits. And then there's a firestorm of all of this happening. When we talk about accountability, that's a one-way street. Tallahassee is not accountable. They expect teachers to jump, they expect principals to jump, they expect superintendents to jump. And if you're going to set this as the law, then the very least you could do is say, okay, July 1 is the deadline. If we haven't come up with the data by that time, we're holding you harmless for 1 year. Because what happened to these teachers and these schools, and as was said by Ms. Griffin, wasn't planned by anyone here. And I don't really care what the intent is in Tallahassee. Well, I do care, but the intent has unintended consequences here, because what happened is not fair to children in these schools. And we all need to talk to our representatives. And the first thing I'm going to say is, if this is the law, then you've got to enforce it in a fair and humane and just way. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. Do they take ethics training?
Well, I know we,
No.
they don't take it? Okay.
That's why I asked it. Everybody else does, they're the ones that write the law, and they don't have it. Mrs. Roy.
Just, you know, all of us have been reading these heartbreaking stories about teachers who are moved at the last minute, who love their students, who love being with the least capable students in the district because that's their mission. And to see them jerked away at the last minute is just awful. And I was going to say, as Rob did, that VAM has been discredited nationwide for years and years and years as a method of evaluating teachers. It's just, you know, and yet I do think it's part of a strategy in Tallahassee. And, you know, Ms. Griffin says, talk to our legislators, and Mr. Hyatt says, talk to them. We have begged them for years to be fair and even sued them with little success. So I would say everyone needs to vote, everyone. And your friends and family, please urge them to vote in August and in November. That's all. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else? I don't have anything else to add to that. How I feel about it. Let's see. Citizen Board Superintendent, I guess that's it. This meeting is adjourned.